There's an elephant in this room no one wants to discuss. This elephant comes with a wheelchair, a mobility aid, or a staircase. The elephant here is inaccessibility and exclusion. This elephant represents the millions of people excluded every day in society, not by design, but by choice. The elephant is impossible to ignore, but too often accessibility is treated as a tick box exercise, a compliance obligation, or an afterthought. But the reality is, we fear it. I've lived both sides. I've lived the barriers, I've lived the exclusion, but I've also lived the breakthrough when accessibility and technology came together to create true inclusion. At 15, I was suddenly confined to bed for 4,380 days. That's 12 years. I was paralysed, blind, and isolated from society. My mum, a nurse, took early retirement to bring. My mum, a nurse, took early retirement to bring me to become my full-time carer. My dad, a builder, extended our walls to bring me home from hospital. Together they built a foundation of love and support that carried me through everything. For a further decade, I was a wheelchair user, navigating life. For a further decade, I was a wheelchair user, navigating life. I can't think. Sorry, no, I need Take two. There's an elephant in this room no one wants to discuss. This elephant comes with a wheelchair, a mobility aid, or a staircase. The elephant represents inaccessibility and exclusion. This elephant represents the millions of people excluded every day in society, not by choice, but by design. The elephant is impossible to ignore, but too often, accessibility is treated as a tick box exercise, a compliance obligation, or an afterthought. But in reality, we fear it. I've lived both sides. I've lived the barriers, I've lived the exclusion, but I've also lived the breakthrough when accessibility and technology came together to create true inclusion. At 15, I was suddenly confined to bed for 4,380 days. That's 12 years. I was paralysed, blind, and isolated from society. My mum, a nurse, took early retirement to become my full-time carer. And my dad, a builder, extended our walls to bring me home from hospital. Together, they built a foundation of love and support that carried me through everything. For a further decade, I navigated life as a wheelchair user, facing systemic and societal barriers, both in the digital and physical environments. Accessibility is key to a truly inclusive society. Every inaccessible space, every inaccessible transport, and every inaccessible service sends a silent message: you don't belong here. I've heard this message loud and clear throughout my life. I've been told to leave restaurants simply because of my disability. I've been questioned about my sexuality because I require the assistance of female carers. I've also been removed from class as a teacher asked my classmates to vote on whether I should remain in the room or not. But these are a few moments when fear of my needs made others uncomfortable. And it's in these moments that real change begins, or when belonging is either denied or claimed. But why does society fear accessibility and inclusion like an elephant fears the mythical mouse? Is it because it's perceived as confusing, complicated, unfamiliar, or misunderstood? These fears come from lack of knowledge, resistance to change, and confusion. Instead of engaging, many hold back. They fear the what-ifs. Like, what if it's too expensive? What if it takes too long to implement? And what if we fail? These fears are a reality, but often misplaced, because usually they are minor obstacles, not insurmountable barriers. These fears are easier to overcome and shrink when we face them with an openness to learn. Accessibility and inclusion aren't the mammoth task they are often made out to be. They're a different mindset than we currently have. This is why I'm introducing the fail-proof model of inclusive excellence to help businesses overcome fear and misunderstanding and to embrace accessibility and inclusion with confidence. It's as easy as ABC to implement. A, acknowledge failures, and let's use this knowledge to B, bridge the access gap by implementing practical, real-world solutions. And finally, C, cultivate excellence, making accessibility and inclusion as standard. Once we understand where we are failing, we can begin to excel. Stephen Hawking once said, "For millions of people, technology is a lifeline. It removes barriers and it unlocks potential." I am one of those millions. Technology became my lifeline. Voice-assistive technology supported my independence. Technology enabled me to reconnect with society, friends and family. It enabled me to achieve a master's degree, advocate for others, and launch an organisation for adults with disabilities. Now I'm a disabled entrepreneur, developing travel solutions at its core. But my experience with technology wasn't just digital. It was physical too. I became known as the Bionic Woman after spending 6 hours a day strapped into a specialised electronic standing frame, which I was only meant to do for 20 minutes. Then came the anti-gravity treadmill, and after my very first go, I declared I was going to run a marathon for charity. I did exactly that. Over the next 8 sessions, I completed the full distance of the marathon, breaking it down into more manageable sections, proving that even the biggest goals can be conquered one step at a time. Technology didn't just support me. It helped me rise, move forward, and believe in what is possible. Today, I want to take you on a journey towards an inclusive, sustainable future we can actually build together. The elephant is powerful. It is deeply aware of its environment. It moves with purpose, it listens with intention, and it never forgets. The elephant adapts to support and protect its herd. It leads not with dominance, but with empathy and memory. Now consider us, humanity. We too hold immense power in our hands. It's time to lead with the wisdom of the elephant and design with every person in mind to protect our herd. Now is the time to design spaces, policies, and systems that reflect our collective strength and compassion. Spaces where every individual is included, valued, and heard regardless of their ability. Accessibility and inclusion must be at the forefront of every decision, innovation and design, because not doing so will continue to exclude millions of people. How do you eat an elephant, I hear you say? One piece at a time. By breaking down barriers into smaller, manageable tasks and addressing them one at a time, we can improve accessibility. One of the ways we can improve accessibility is through AI. When I said AI, I bet most of you think of artificial intelligence, cutting-edge technology, innovation, and endless possibilities. But today, I want to introduce you to a modified form of AI. I want you to also think of AI as accessibility and inclusion, or as I have coined it, AI squared. Accessible and inclusive design is a bridge to freedom, dignity, and empowerment for everyone. I have a dream of a world without limits, where every person can live, work, and travel with confidence, where every innovation serves everyone, all of us equally. It took me 2 months of planning and the purchase of a portable hoist to be able to go on holidays. Picture this: 2 carers and I would arrive at an accommodation overladen with luggage, heavy equipment, and a box full of food to meet my dietary requirements. One carer is pulling the hoist along the corridor by a dog lead. The other is navigating my wheelchair, whilst I was the donkey with the luggage on my knee. But that was only the start. Once in the room, they had to inflate mattresses because there wasn't a bed for them. It was far from a holiday. But this isn't just my story. There are millions like me. After research, I discovered that some wheelchair users have slept on pool loungers because they physically couldn't enter the room. But countless others can't participate at all. When we design for inclusion, we create better experience for everybody in society. Ramps support wheelchair users, but they also support those with mobility challenges. They also support those with young children and travellers with luggage. Imagine not being able to visit your friends or family, go to pubs, clubs, theatres, access services like banks or hairdressers, participate in sport, pursue education, or to simply travel. This was my reality as I tried to reintegrate into society. If there's no change or progress, millions of people will continue to experience these barriers. Foundations need to be in place now to make life easier for our future generations. More than 1.3 billion people worldwide experience a form of disability. That's 16%, and that number is continually rising. According to Hassan 2024, most of us will experience some form of disability within our lifetime. The economic power of the global disability market exceeds $13 trillion. That's missed opportunity for businesses and society. Accessibility and inclusion must be at the forefront of every decision, innovation and design, because not doing so will continue to exclude millions of people. When accessibility leads, innovation follows, creating a world that's smarter, equal, and built for all. Our future depends on 2 AIs. 1, artificial intelligence, the technology we're building, and 2, accessibility and inclusion, the human-centred design that must be built with equal intention. AI squared means artificial intelligence partnered with accessibility and inclusion to unlock society's fullest potential. Technology is not a magic wand. Technology alone cannot fix deeply rooted barriers. True progress demands more than innovation. It demands responsibility, cultural shift, and a commitment. Imagine a world where every need was recognised because AI squared demands it, where the future adapts to every person instead of every person adapting to the future. But inclusion isn't an add-on or a plug-in. It's a mindset shift. We must challenge more than the barriers. We must challenge the thinking that create them. By embracing AI squared, designed responsibly, built intentionally, we can build a future where everyone belongs, where accessibility and inclusion are the norm, not the exclusion. Today, I challenge you to face your fears, dare to change, and embrace AI squared. Let's not innovate technology. Let's innovate a world where humanity has the opportunity to live fully, freely, and without barriers. AI and accessibility and inclusion must be advanced with equal urgency. Let's commit to creating spaces, technologies, and opportunities for everyone, and remove the elephant from the room once and for all.